Alrighty, welcome back to another walkthrough of 3D printing SOP. So for this one, this is for color changes. So for murals and such, you're probably only going to have like one color change if it's text, and then multiple if it's something that has a lot of different colors, like these 2025 giveaways. If you do have a color change, then you're going to hear the printer chirp at you, trying to say like, hey, I've got a color change, I've got this color swap that I need to go ahead and do. So it will chirp at you, and then if you don't respond to it by the time that it gets done chirping, then it's going to go ahead and start to cool down, as you can see from this menu down here. So it's asking you to go ahead and press in on this button to go ahead and preheat. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now it's continuing to heat, so it can go ahead and warm itself up. But this printer has done some work while we've been away. What it's done is it's actually retracted the filament while it was still hot, all the way back to about here. So this filament is no longer in the hot end. It no longer needs to be heated to go ahead and pull through. So what I can then go ahead and do is bring this back to the top. Go ahead and, as we talked about before, press in only on this spring right here, and then continue to pull the filament. Continue to pull until it pops out. And once it pops out, maintain custody of the filament until you wrap it around enough to the point where you have about an inch that you can push through the anchor point. Through. As you can see on this example, I got hella more than an inch, but man, is that secure. So I'm going to go ahead and take the spool off since it's been anchored, and go ahead and put this back to the leaning tower of plastic. And go ahead and take this white PLA and go ahead and load it into the slot. Now, assess the tip. How are we looking on that one? Since this was something that was used for an auto swap, the auto swaps typically make those really nice pointed tips, which come in handy for inserting into the Bowden tube, because since they're rounded like that, they rarely get stuck on the part between the metal and the plastic. So I'm just going to go ahead and shoot down right there. There we go. Bring this filament down. Open the teeth back up. Insert this in. Continue to push past the teeth. Continue to push all the way down until I feel some pressure building up in there. Then continue to push, push, push until I might hear some pops. But I will definitely see some filament coming out the end right there. And I can see that's all navy right now. So I haven't quite gotten to the point where I'm at the regular white PLA. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my tweezers, wherever they are. Oh, here they are. Grab my tweezers, go ahead and get that boy out of there. Now we are completely free. Now what's this menu trying to ask us? It asks us to insert filament and press the button because it's gotten up to temperature. If we let this sit for too much longer, it's going to ask us to go ahead and press the button and then heat it again, in which case the temperature is going to continue to plummet. It's fine. I'm just going to go ahead and hit it again, and then listen to my child scream once more at me to become a better father. And I'm trying, son. It's harder than you think. Let's see here. Let's assume that I got a star from the previous print that I did wrong, so that's fun. Okay. Just going to clean that off. Waiting for the nozzle to heat. Waiting for the nozzle to heat. Exhilarating, I know. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and press in on the button as it asks. It's going to begin to purge itself. So that filament is going to start spewing out the end because it is activating its own extruder. I'm just going to go ahead and guide this piece out over here so it doesn't get completely jammed up in the end. This is an optional step. If you don't do this, then it's just going to turn to a big old ball in the bottom. You'll have to deal with it then. So, stop extruding at this point. It's asking me if I want to purge more to continue. I can see that it turned to white, so I need to go ahead and continue. Once I continue, I'm going to go ahead and pull that extra off. And as this begins to print, I'm going to go ahead and push down on this end over here. Very lightly press down, but If I do that, I can go ahead and look under and just ensure that I'm getting good contact and adherence for this new color. The reason for that is because since this extruder only has the one Z-axis over here, it doesn't have any over here, as you can see it's just a power supply. All it's got is guides over here. Sometimes there's a little bit of lag time in whenever the guides go up and down, and whenever the Z-axis goes up and down. So there's a little bit of lag time over here. Since the last position of the 3D print was higher up, and then it comes back down, this would lag behind and be lifted a little bit. So, just to counter that, all that you need to do is just put a finger over here and press down just the slightest little bit, and that will ensure that it's getting a good bond adhesion to the next layer. So, now that you've done the color swap, you push down a little bit on that side, just go ahead and let it ride. That's all that you need to do for the color swap. Alright, it's been Matthew Underwood with the 3D Printing SOP. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.